All right, so this one has the potential to be probably the most controversial and probably the most difficult DMs that I'll get from parents on things, but here we go. A couple days ago, I was sitting around with some other parents, and it turned into a really interesting conversation about who had smoked weed when they were in high school. Of course, we didn't really call it weed back when we were in high school. We just talked about people who smoked pot. And, it was a different day and a different time, and a lot of things were different. But it was a really interesting conversation that then turned into kind of what we had communicated to our kids related to smoking weed and drugs and all those kind of things. And I made a statement that I still stick by. And that is that I think we do a disservice to our kids when we throw marijuana into the mix with heroin and meth and these kind of things. So what I did when my kids were growing up was and this is a whole much longer conversation, but I taught them about the things that were traps. I just, from the time they were little, said, hey, there's certain traps out there that'll really kind of mess you up. You need to be aware of those. And I would teach them. It covered everything from pornography to alcohol, drugs, gambling, kind of all the different things that go along with that one. But in particular, I would kind of pull out weed. Now, I'm not an advocate. Like, I know there's some people that are these huge advocates right now saying we need to legalize marijuana and that kind of stuff, and I wasn't going there at all, because my position is it's illegal, right? And you don't need to break the laws. Especially if you're a minor, you need to obey the laws. My real concern with downplaying the evils of weed was, number one, I thought there's a pretty high likelihood that they would be around it and encounter it, just like alcohol. And what I didn't want to have happen was for them to be in a situation where they experimented with weed or smoked weed and nothing really bad happened to them. And I didn't want them to now make the next logical conclusion that, well, hey, if weed didn't create all these problems, then maybe these other drugs aren't really going to create problems for me. And for them to begin to go down a more difficult road and end up doing something somewhere where they take some meth or some other types of drugs like that really do mess you up, where you get addicted and go, that kind of thing. So for me, there's this false narrative around marijuana that, it's as dangerous as those other super bad drugs that we talk about. And I just didn't want to set up this relative equivalency in their minds to where they could falsely stumble into that. And the issue would lie in the fact that I didn't teach them the realities. So instead, I talk about weed like in the same way I would talk about alcohol, because honestly, I think the two are probably about on the same level with some things. And again, I know some of you all won't agree with me, and that's fine. But alcohol, driving while you're impaired, the judgment factor that it gives just in when you're out with friends, the stupid stuff you do when you've been drinking that you wouldn't do otherwise. Some people are alcoholic and they don't know, how drinking is going to trigger that. Right? There's all these things we know about alcohol, and we talk about alcohol. But we don't really apply those same things to marijuana. And I think that that's really a better conversation to have with our kids, is that you just don't need to do anything. You don't need to take these drugs or smoke weed or the various vapes, that are going on right now and that kind of stuff. You just don't do those kind of things, because the same type things, it impairs your judgment. It can make you make bad decisions that you wouldn't make otherwise. It can lead to other problems. If your body chemistry is in a certain way, it can really lead to other problems that you don't anticipate. But the big thing is, it's illegal. And that's what I told my boys. Hey, as long as you're underage, it doesn't matter how much you try and justify it or how much sense it makes to you or who all's doing it, it's still illegal. And so if you get caught with it, you will get arrested. At minimum, you're going to get in trouble, but you're likely to get arrested. And if you've been drinking and driving, then it's really going to be a big problem. And not only will it be a big problem with whatever happens there, and you got a big problem with me, because you are not allowed to drink and drive in the car. And the same thing applied to anything else. So I just want to encourage you as a parent, if you're kind of struggling through how to have that conversation and where that falls, don't make the false equivalency argument that your kid smoking weed is on the same category as your kid doing meth or heroin or cocaine or 100 other drugs that are out there now that may be classified that way legally, but as far as the real world implications and the toll it takes on the body, it's just not the same. It's not the same. And so if we set that threshold and say, hey, everything from from just the other side of alcohol up to marijuana and on is, you know, gonna kill you if you try and do anything. You're gonna get addicted, your life's gonna be ruined. Right, they can see through that, and we've lost our credibility to speak on topics. So be real with them, be intellectually honest in all of that. So again, it's a hard parenting thing. The conversations around that can be kind of sticky. You don't want to, some of y'all may, I don't know, but you don't want to encourage your kids to do something that's illegal and that potentially can have problems for them. So think through that, but that was kind of how we dealt with it. And I feel like it kind of, you know, worked out well. And I've had other parents I've talked to who said they found that to be very helpful. Hey, if you're looking for other things that might be able to help you as a parent as you're going through some stuff, offering a free workshop coming up pretty soon here, July 20, 21, 22. If you go to parentingwithconfidence.live, L-I-V-E, parentingwithconfidence.live, you can register for that. It's just for an hour a day. During those days, 11 a.m. Central Time. Love to have you there. Join us. Hopefully learn some things that can help you kind of get some stuff together. Again, this is not for parents who are, you know, really struggling at the end of their rope and grasping for straws with a kid who is addicted to drugs and dealing with legal issues, that kind of stuff. That's not kind of who this group's going to be, and everyone will freak out if that's where you are and you start throwing those problems in there. But I do think it's some good stuff that'll be helpful to you. So jump on that. If you know somebody who's got a preteen, you know, coming on, maybe it'd be great for them, but just pass that link along to them. The link will be below this video as well. So hope that helps. Hope you have a great day.